A hearty beef stew warms the soul and satisfies the appetite, like few other dishes can. But imagine elevating this classic comfort food with two unexpected ingredients: licorice root and malt beer. These additions transform an already robust dish into something truly memorable, a stew that's rich, aromatic, and layered with deep, complex flavors. Picture starting on a chilly afternoon, the kitchen filled with the promise of a meal that will draw everyone in. The foundation of this beef stew is quality beef, ideally well-marbled chuck or brisket, cut into generous cubes. The marbling ensures the meat becomes meltingly tender as it simmers, while imparting richness to the stew. Begin by seasoning the beef liberally with salt and freshly ground black pepper. A brief rest allows the salt to draw out some moisture, helping the beef develop a caramelized crust when it hits the pan. Over medium-high heat, a heavy-bottomed pot or Dutch oven welcomes a glug of neutral oil. The beef, added in batches to avoid overcrowding, sizzles as it browns on all sides. This step isn't just for color, it's for flavor. The fond those browned bits clinging to the bottom of the pot are gold. Once the beef is browned and set aside, it's time for the aromatics. Onions, diced finely, are the next to join the pot. Their sweetness is coaxed out as they slowly soften, turning translucent and fragrant. Carrots, cut into chunky rounds, and celery, chopped into hearty pieces, follow. The medley of root vegetables will absorb flavor and lend their own earthiness to the stew. Now for the twist: licorice root. This isn't the sticky black candy you might be picturing, but rather the dried root itself, subtle, herbal, and faintly sweet. A few pieces, no bigger than your thumb, are added to the pot, infusing the simmering stew with a gentle, anise-like aroma. Licorice root is used sparingly. Its role is to enhance, not overpower. It weaves a thread of intrigue through the dish, offering a hint of something elusive and aromatic. With the vegetables mingling with the licorice root, a generous spoonful of tomato paste is stirred in. It deepens the color and brings a gentle acidity that balances the dish. Garlic, minced finely, is added next, releasing its perfume as it cooks briefly. Now comes the malt beer. Choose a malty, full-bodied brew. Think brown ale, porter, or a bock. The beer is poured in, bubbling and deglazing the pot, dissolving those flavorful browned bits from earlier. The malt in the beer brings a toasty, caramelized sweetness that echoes the flavors of the browned beef and vegetables, while the hops introduce a gentle bitterness that keeps the stew from becoming too heavy. Once the beer has simmered for a minute or two, the browned beef is returned to the pot. Along with any juices it's released. Beef stock or broth is added, enough to barely cover the solids. A bay leaf, a few sprigs of thyme, and a couple of whole black peppercorns join the party, tucked in among the meat and vegetables. The pot is brought to a gentle simmer, then covered, and left to cook slowly. Over the next 2 to 3 hours, magic happens. The beef becomes fork tender, the vegetables yield their sweetness, and the licorice root softens, releasing its subtle flavor throughout the stew. Occasionally, check the pot and skim away any foam or excess fat that rises to the surface. About halfway through the simmer, add potatoes. Waxy varieties like Yukon Gold or red potatoes hold their shape best. Cut them into large chunks so they don't dissolve into the broth. The potatoes will absorb the surrounding flavors, becoming creamy and rich. As the stew nears completion, taste and adjust the seasoning. Sometimes a splash of vinegar, a red wine or malt vinegar, helps to brighten the flavors, cutting through the richness. Remove the licorice root pieces and the bay leaf before serving. The final result is a stew with incredible depth. The savory beef, the sweet and earthy vegetables, the malty undertones from the beer, and a whisper of herbal intrigue from the licorice root. Ladle the stew into deep bowls, ensuring each serving gets a generous portion of beef, potatoes, and vegetables. The broth is dark and glossy, with an aroma that's at once familiar and mysterious. Serve with thick slices of crusty bread for mopping up every last drop. This beef stew is more than just a meal, it's an experience. The licorice root doesn't shout, it whispers, inviting curiosity with each spoonful. The malt beer enriches the broth, making it robust without being cloying, balancing sweetness, bitterness, and umami in perfect harmony. But why licorice root and malt beer? Both ingredients have a long history in European cooking. Licorice root, prized for centuries for its medicinal properties and subtle sweetness, appears in stews and braises throughout Scandinavia and Eastern Europe. Malt beer, with its toasty, caramelized notes, has been used to enrich stews and sauces since medieval times, especially in regions where wine was scarce, but barley was plentiful. Together, these ingredients create a beef stew that feels both ancient and modern. The licorice root's gentle anise flavor enhances the natural sweetness of carrots and onions while providing a counterpoint to the richness of the beef. The malt beer, meanwhile, offers a depth and complexity that water or stock alone cannot match. It's a stew that surprises and delights, offering comfort with a twist. As you eat, the flavors reveal themselves in layers. The first taste is all about the beef, succulent, savory, and deeply satisfying. Then comes the sweetness from carrots and onions, followed by the earthy richness of potatoes. The broth lingers on the palate, its malt and licorice notes dancing at the edges, subtle but unmistakable. Each bite is warming and restorative, perfect for a cold evening or when you crave something hearty and grounding. The stew pairs beautifully with roasted root vegetables or a simple green salad dressed with a sharp vinaigrette. For those who enjoy a bit of heat, a dollop of horseradish or a spoonful of mustard on the side offers a spicy contrast to the stew's deep flavors. Leftovers, if you have any, only improve with time. Like all great stews, the flavors meld and deepen overnight. Reheated gently on the stove, the stew fills the kitchen with its inviting aroma once again, promising another comforting meal. In making this stew, you're participating in a tradition that stretches back generations. Home cooks coaxing maximum flavor from humble ingredients, using a touch of creativity to make something memorable. The addition of licorice root and malt beer isn't just a flourish. It's a nod to the rich history of stew making, where cooks drew upon what was available to create dishes that were both nourishing and unique. So whether you're making this stew for a family gathering, a group of friends, or simply for yourself on a quiet evening, you're sure to enjoy not only its hearty, satisfying qualities, but also the subtle, surprising flavors that set it apart. It's a dish that invites conversation and curiosity, that comforts and delights in equal measure. As you sit down to enjoy your bowl, let the warmth of the stew chase away the chill, and savor the interplay of flavors, the beef, the vegetables, the malt, and that enigmatic whisper of licorice. And know that you've created something special, a classic dish, reimagined, that will linger in your memory long after the last spoonful is gone.